All right, y'all. Welcome back to Four Titles, One True. I'm Lance. Y'all see who's going first today.
That's all right. Hey, I'm Tommie. You know who it is. Hey, today we have a special guest. It's Command Sergeant Major,
Absolutely.
retired Milton Connally. No, he's not a classmate. He's way older than me. Welcome to the show, man. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, I'm a little older, a little. But thank you very much, and I'm definitely glad to be here this morning.
Glad to have you here. Yeah, thanks for joining us today, brother. And today we're going to be talking about financial responsibility, real world money talk, and what we wish we knew as young black men to avoid the traps we fell into, growing up.
Boy, did we.
Yeah.
All right, hey, let's get into it. We're glad to have you here, brother. And let's find out where are you from in the world, and did you have plans to join the military growing up?
Again, good morning. I'm actually from Dayton, Ohio.
Oh,
Dayton, all right.
H-I-O.
And I had no plans of joining the military whatsoever. It was something that didn't even come into my purview. I graduated from high school, went to college, Wright State University. For those of you that are familiar with, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is right next to it. But I went for a year and a half, and I sat out a semester, and I felt that at that time, I was home, wasn't doing anything really, had a small-time job at a movie theater. So it was really just pocket money. Mm-hmm. My friends in school, I really looked at my life at that time as a young man and said I needed to do something to get my life started, really.
Okay.
Went up and took the test, for the Army.
Mm-hmm. As bad.
And the only thing I told the recruiter at that time was I wanted to do something that I could get a job in once I got out the service.
Okay.
And he said, what about a medic? I said, well, what do they do? I can do that. Sign me up. Obviously, I passed the test, no problem there. And I was in the Army within 30 days. Didn't tell my family, didn't tell my friends. Went home, told my mom I joined the service, I'm leaving in 30 days. She was like, what? I said I needed to do something. I needed to take control of my life. And that was the beginning, really.
Okay.
So you combat medic, huh?
Combat medic.
Yeah, the whole time? This is your only one?
No, just, first duty station, I was in Bamberg, Germany, in an armor unit as a combat medic. And my second duty station was at Fort Sill in an armor unit, in a field artillery unit, again, combat medic. And at that time, I decided to look into changing my MOS, which I did, which was to a LPN, which was a 91 Charlie at that time. That finished my career as a 91 Charlie. 26 years and 8 months in the service.
All right.
That's cute.
26
years.
I can tell you, that was something that I didn't see coming. If someone would have told me that many years ago, I'd have said, there's no way. I felt it wasn't for me.
Mm-hmm. No one else in the family was in the military?
No family members, no uncles that I was familiar, that I was aware of.
So you're the first one that you know of?
First one. Wow. And, I didn't like going to the field for 2 and 3 weeks at a time. And I figured this wasn't for me.
Okay.
So for those soldiers that knew me then, that first duty station, if they could see me now, they'd be like, there's no way you stayed.
All right.
But I'm so fortunate today that I did stay, made a career out of it. And I would recommend to any young man, the sooner you buy into whatever it is that you're doing, the better off you'll be.
Yep.
I'll tell you a funny story.
We're the judge of that.
Yes.
You tell us a story, but go ahead.
Again, at that first duty station in Bamberg, Germany, I told, my, fellow medics that, they knew very well that I wasn't real happy. I didn't like what I was doing. It wasn't necessarily I didn't like what I was doing. I just felt the military wasn't for me.
So
little did I know.
How old were you when you...
I spent a year and a half in college, so I was 22.
Okay.
Because I went to college for a year and a half, and I just felt that it wasn't something that I felt I would make a career in. But I recall when I joined the service, someone actually told me, they said, no matter what you do, stay in for 20. That was always in the back of my head, in the back of my ear. I recall that conversation. And so from time to time I would think about it. What am I going to do when I get out? So I wasn't one that was willing to make a move without having a plan, if you will.
Right.
So once I changed my MOS, I actually told my friends I didn't like being in the field with all these guys. I wanted to be around some women. and they told me, they said, you're not going to like it if you're in the hospital working around a bunch of women. And I kind of smiled. I said, you won't like it. Don't speak for me. Changed my MOS to an LPN. And at that time, I didn't really realize what I was doing. I just wanted to be in the hospital, getting a little bit more medical knowledge.
Right.
So that was interesting to me. But as far as what the nurse actually did, I didn't know until I went to school. And I'm like, we have to do all that? It was an eye-opening experience for me.
Your story is similar to mine as to getting into nursing, because I was in biology, plant biology, when I started school. Then one of my buddies was like, hey, man, I'm going to go down to the nursing school because, that's where all of the ladies and all the stuff. I was like, man, you know what? I'm going to go down there. I know some nurses. I said, and they do all right. Went down there, changed my major, and it was eye-opening, in a lot of words. So, but it was because I didn't realize everything that, and I had like mother, aunt, that were nurses, didn't realize all of the stuff that went into it. Because I tell folks like nursing is not easy. Don't think that you're going to jump into nursing and it's going to be like, oh, that's a cake. I was like, it kicked my butt for
I don't know what y'all
years.
talking about.
It is, I would say it's just like any other profession, that though obviously there's ups and downs in anything that you do. But what I do appreciate is the medical knowledge that I was able to gather, learn experience, and, throughout my career, that as far as just me working and taking care of patients and that was probably the hardest of my medical experience, taking care of those patients and working at Walter Reed is what I would tell anybody. It was a heavy load, great experience though.
You were busy at Walter Reed though anyway. You met somebody there, didn't you?
We had dignitaries coming there all the time.
Talking about dignitaries, yeah.
You
I'm
married,
talking about
right?
dignitaries.
I'm sorry.
You married, right?
I did. I actually.
But that is a dignitary. That's the main dignitary.
I met my wife there.
How long y'all been married?
We've been married now 34 years. And we were actually married at Walter Reed in the chapel. So yes, I did meet someone very important to me.
That's right. And she's a retired
Full bird
nurse, Tina.
Yep. Yeah. So before we get out of here and get on to the next, to the real meat of the conversation, you said that you always wanted to be prepared, right? And you also talked about somebody told you to at least go to 20. So during those years before you got to 26?
Correct. 26 years.
Okay. So first, what made you decide to retire at 26? And then second, did you think that you prepared enough after you retired?
That's an interesting question. The first one, what made me retire at 26 years in the 8 months? Prior to that time, my wife got reassigned. At that time, we were at in Washington State, at the facility there, and my wife was reassigned to Fort Sam, and I was still there, and we were separated for about close to a year before it came to a realization. I made the decision to retire. My son was starting his freshman year in high school in San Antonio. Okay. And he was having a few difficulties without me being there. And I just kind of reassessed my entire life and said, is it really worth me losing my family by continuing to stay in? And
I got 2 kids, right?
I have 2 kids.
Okay.
So I said, I basically made the decision, said, this is it. I talked to my wife about it, and she's asked me if I was sure. And a couple of years earlier, I had began to have inklings if, that this may be the time. And for those that are familiar with, folks in the military, there's different timelines, and if you retire, if you came in the Army at a certain time frame, if you retire at this time, this is how your retirement would shake out and what you're authorized. So I was kind of tracking that. I won't say it was an easy decision, but I had been thinking about it, and this ended up being kind of the perfect storm that kind of brought this all to a head.
Right.
So I put in my retirement paperwork 9 months out, and I hadn't really put a lot of thought into, okay, what am I going to do
afterwards,
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I didn't really have a plan, if you will. And then once I did retire, I can tell you that the Lord works in mysterious ways. My daughter was fourth grade at the time, and she was showing some early promise as a young kid in basketball. I retired and I worked for a year and a half selling cars. And once kind of her career she was showing more and more promise, I was able to help her 110% being all that she could be in basketball. Okay. So I stopped working with the approval of my wife. I can knock on wood. I'm fortunate to be able to do that. We're financially, in good shape. That I was able to stop working and hadn't worked since to this day. At the same time, I wasn't able to give my son that 110%. So we had a heart-to-heart, and I had to really truly explain that to him. And that is one regret that I have, that I wasn't able to give him that 110 during that time. Yeah. But so that's kind of how that went.
But your son got better?
Oh, my son is thriving now. Yeah. He's actually a military man. He's in the Coast Guard. Okay. He's been in there for 8 years as of last month. Okay. Here recently, he PCS from Puerto Rico, and now he's in the DMV area. I'm truly blessed and excited for what he's doing.
Yeah,
that's fun.
Awesome.
Well, we're glad to have you here.
Awesome. Yep. So now let's talk some finances.
Yeah,
all right. So growing up, what messages did you receive about money in your household, and how did those shape or limit your understanding as a young black man?
So, I remember in high school doing like check writing classes, but I don't remember. It was a class. It wasn't something that was something that I took in and was like, I need to pay attention to my finances.
Right.
So, and for those that don't know, you got to remember, during Jim Crow and slavery and Jim Crow, the majority of black people didn't have access to banking, right? So to this day, there are black people that don't trust banks simply because they never got that traditional passing down of the proper ways to maintain your finances.
Well, they didn't want black folks to be able to
Absolutely.
save money and
Absolutely.
learn how to
and
manage
buy homes
money.
and acquire legacy money. So as far as finances in the home, my mom was the one that managed that. My dad was out working because my mom was a stay-at-home mom and wife. But to be honest, didn't really dawn on me, to pay attention to my finances. The only thing that I knew was I had to get a job eventually, because I knew basketball wasn't going to pan out. I wasn't going to the league nowhere. And then joining the Army, I just knew work, paycheck, regular. So I always had money coming in, so didn't have to worry about it. So spend, you know what I'm saying? So no fault to my mother or my father, because once again, it was just the way. I didn't really have a lot of training in finances. And then when I joined the military and got a job, or when I got my first job and on to the military, I never talked about saving money. I never talked about my financial future. It was, I got money. I want to go to the club this weekend. I got to get my shoes and my clothes right. Absolutely. Got to impress. And then when I got in the military, it was, hey, I got this car. I got to put these things on them. We got this sound system. So it was a long time before I became financially responsible. So what about you?
Well, Tommie, listening to you brings back a lot of memories. Your experience sounds like a typical. I recall as a small child, I have one brother and three sisters, but our household, we didn't get an allowance. There was no allowance. If we wanted any money to buy something as simple as a candy bar, a piece of candy, etc., then we had to earn that. Yeah. And how me and my brother earned money, we would shovel snow, we would cut grass, we would do those type of things around the neighborhood. And, I was always one that, since we didn't receive an allowance, I would save my money. I would kind of hold on to that. My brother and my sisters, they kind of spend their money fairly quickly.
So did that come from somewhere, or is this something you just chose to do?
It was just something I just did. I always looked at it like, I'm going to hold on to this money as long as I can and wouldn't spend it unless I really wanted something, because I knew there was no money coming from within the household. So that was something that always stuck with me. I used to intentionally lose money in a pair of jeans or something. I'd hang those jeans up in the closet, and in a week or so, 2 weeks, when I put these jeans on or a coat, I'd be like, oh man, I found some money. And that was my way of saying, okay, let me just kind of hold on to this and to ensure that I had some money down the line, if you will.
Now you say
funny story, but very true story. I can admit that.
You were saving. Was it saving in the bank? Were you saving, like, did you start investing?
Not initially. As a child, I wasn't doing that. But when I joined the military, I did have a bank account. Okay. And that was one of the first things I wanted to do. After I finished basics, that first duty station, I got, went to Bamberg, Germany. My goal was when I finished that tour, I wanted to come back with a new car, because it was my understanding that they had like military sales, and you could get a BMW or a Saab or Audi European for a lot cheaper as a military member than you could in the States. So that was a goal of mine, was to save my money as much as I could to be able to get that car once I left. I was able to achieve that, but I was saving money every month. I told the other military, the medics in that unit, that was my goal. Initially, they laughed at me. He's not going to do anything. But over the course of a few short months, they said, I think he is. He's, I was kind of really a barracks rat. I was saving money, a lot more money when I look back on it than I really should have been, because I would have liked to have enjoyed to go out and experience Europe while I was there. That was something that I wasn't able to do. So I learned different ways to make money, as a young soldier. And then with that goal, once my tour became the end, I talked to my mother. I said, hey, Mother, I've saved X amount of money. Will you be able to co-sign for me for this vehicle, for the loan? And that was blown up in smoke. She says, no, why don't you talk to your bank and see if you can do it on your own? Not knowing that she had an experience with my older sister, and she co-signed for her, and she didn't own up to her responsibility, so she didn't want to go through that again. And so I said, okay, called the bank, and they saw I had been saving X amount of money every month, for about 17 months, and they said yes, no problem, I could get the loan on my own. And so here I am, a young E4 PCSing from Germany with a brand new Saab, and folks couldn't believe it that I was able to do that.
Building your credit.
So let's give some perspective. What year did you join the Army?
In 1983, March 83.
And what year did you retire?
I retired in November of 2009.
Because you keep saying be all you could be to everything.
I'm
just saying.
That's what I knew.
I just wanted to give some perspective to the stuff that you're saying.
Yeah. And
you were still reporting for pay.
Wasn't the
Midwest.
same thing. I wasn't what you call it. I wasn't
Thinking about
saving.
no.
Wouldn't put money away like that. My father did all of the. I mean, my
Finances.
father took care of everything, so
Right.
I just. Okay, yep,
Just
we got
living
a
life.
house to live in. Oh, okay, yep, we got food on the table, and
Do you remember any type of formal sit down by anybody, not parents or just anybody,
no,
to
especially
talk about?
not in school or anything
Yeah.
like. Didn't it, nothing until I was high school, but it started coming from my father.
Mm.
High school, when I was about to graduate, and college, and all of that stuff, he started talking to me about credit. Started talking to me about investment type stuff. The life insurance. He started talking to me about that stuff as I got deeper
Older.
into school. Yeah,
Yeah.
as I got older, and then
Making
like
more
when
money.
I graduated from college, and then it was like, hey, do you have these? But it
Yeah.
wasn't. I never had anything formal. Never. Was
It definitely wasn't muscle
no, I mean, because I
memory.
didn't think of. I mean, because I wasn't thinking. I mean, because I had clothes. Didn't start thinking about like, oh man, I want to get those Nikes.
Yeah.
I want to get the. I mean, until I got like junior high, high school. Where Joker started
Yeah.
Joan and
Flashing.
and it's like, what's wrong with these?
Yeah. Look at them,
Well, Tommy, you mentioned that you recall a checking class.
Yep. Check writing class.
The one thing that we did have in high school, there was and it wasn't a mandatory class,
Yep.
but it was home economics.
Yeah.
And home economics was a catch-all, basically. You learn how to cook a little bit, simple dishes.
You make the baked Alaska.
Yeah, that's
You
what I took home ec. I
you
don't remember
learn
doing
how to how to sew a little bit, and throw on buttons. You also they also went over check
I don't remember that.
writing, just barely. It was just a superficial deal. So home economics covered a great deal, but a lot of the guys took it because a lot of women were in
Yeah,
there.
absolutely. I was from a two-parent home. My parents were in the church, so I was a little bit of a difference in me because there are a lot of my friends. A lot of my friends had two-parent homes, but there were also friends that had one-parent homes, whether it be the mother or the father that was responsible, what have you. But no, man, I have never been sat before the military, even been sat down and mentored about finances ever. Like when I hit the realization of finances, it was like, why didn't I know this? Why didn't I understand this? And I'm not saying it wasn't mentioned, because I got my first car co-signed with my dad. My first car was a Ford Escort GT. It was a 1989 Ford Escort GT, and I got it right before I joined the Army. And so
Like, how you fit in an Escort?
that's what I'm saying. Well, I was a little slimmer
But no, I'm
then.
just saying, just being the.
It was a
length.
two-seater. Nobody was ever
Yeah.
getting in the back. But just the fact that even on my first purchase, I didn't even know they scanned my credit. I didn't know that.
Didn't know about building.
No,
That's the thing. Didn't know about building.
No, I
credit.
just knew I had to pay, and I went through a lot of trouble because of that. Not understanding.
Not understanding like interest rates and not understanding that stuff that now where it's like, well, no, I don't like that. And I know you can you can do better than that. I know you
Yeah,
can.
there's a
especially
term
that
that I
Yeah.
learned in the Army. One of my supervisors taught it to me. You don't know what you don't know.
100%.
And it is exactly, as you said, 100% true. You have no idea. It's something that doesn't even cross your mind
Nope.
until you're introduced to it.
Exactly.
And then at that time, once
So
you're
let me
introduced
cut you
to
off
it,
right there then. When did you first realize that you were personally responsible for your own finances, your own financial future, and what sparked that moment?
I recall a situation, first duty station again in Bamberg, Germany, a fellow soldier. His family, he had a family member that passed away, and he received the emergency call, said, "Hey, family members passed away. This particular soldier didn't have enough money to buy a plane ticket to go back to the States from Germany to attend that funeral. And so the unit basically passed the hat around, and everyone donated. I won't say everyone, but a lot of people donated, funds to that, and he was able to fly back to attend the funeral, etc. One thing that stuck in my mind, I can remember it to this day, was when he was gone, those same soldiers, basically talked about him behind his back. Like, he didn't even have enough money to do this and that. And I said at that moment that would never happen to me. Never. And
what rank were you in?
I was either E3 or E4.
Oh, wow.
I was a young soldier, but I remembered that. I didn't like it. And I said that I'm going to make sure that I always have money. If my mother, something happens to my mother or a family member, brother or sister, then I'm going to be able to take care of that on my own. And that was something that I just put together on my own, just from a pride standpoint, that wouldn't happen to me. So,
well, that's definitely something the Army improved on with AER, that Army Emergency Relief.
Yeah, but when being a young, probably around that senior year of school, when I started turning to be a second lieutenant, right in the Army, just because I had to start paying bills. Had to start, I was married, so it was like, okay, got this money coming in, I need to start, and I said, that's my father was talking to me about, insurance, and then you had the folks come, the investment companies and things, they start coming to you, sitting down and talking about that stuff, because it's like, okay, how long, what, am I going to retire out the military? Am I going to get this, I didn't understand the whole retirement thing. I didn't, wasn't looking at how much I was going to make, but it's like, okay, I want to be able to survive and not, scratch the scuff. Yeah, so so it was like that just started coming into like, okay, I need to start doing this, but it was still a fear of, I can't give all of this money to the thing because I'm gonna be, I still want to have fun. And I'm just starting to make some, because it's like you just start making some money, and then it's like, now I got to put money away. I need to start doing this investments or putting this money away, and it's like, but I want to have fun. I've been scratching and been in a little one room single bed.
These jokers out here, BMWs and Mercedes.
I'm driving in my Corolla.
He's speaking truth. He's speaking
so
truth.
So
it's a fine line.
At that time, it really started setting in to where it's like, okay, let's do, let's put this
Plus
piece
you're
away.
Married. That's another advantage.
Yes. Yeah. But that don't help when somebody else is like spending too.
Or disadvantage for some folks.
That's true.
That when you don't manage that it causes a whole
two don't manage it well,
additional problems.
No, but it was
but if it's managed well, it's a lovely thing.
Because you don't make a lot of money.
When
you're starting off, you really don't make any money. So, but around that was a 23, 22, 23. When it was like, okay, shit, this is my stuff. Because I never wanted to go back asking my parents for anything. After I left and went to school, I never went back and said, I need some help with this payment. I need something. I didn't want to put that burden on them. It was like, it's my responsibility. I'm grown, saying I'm grown, and this is what I'm going to do. So,
well, you two were way better than me. So I was 30 before I really started to understand. And you know what made me understand?
What was
my first deployment to Iraq. And I couldn't get a clearance. Yeah. And I couldn't get a clearance because it was only because of my finances. So I ended up deploying. So during those years, I was basically a typical soldier. I'm talking, I had my Escort GT. I got it before I joined the Army. And then when I got in the Army, I realized, wait.
Did you just buy that with cash, or did you go to a dealership?
I worked.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had a job. So in the summers, I worked for construction.
Okay.
So that I had money that way. And then when I joined the Army, I was going to have money. So that's why, as a co-signer, I was able to put down money.
Okay.
But once I was able to, because I couldn't have my car during any training, then once I finally got to my duty station, I was able to drive there in my car. And then I found out I needed a tent. I found out I needed a system.
That's right. You need all
I
of
found
that.
it out.
You need all of that.
I found it out I couldn't survive without rims.
That's right. You got
Yeah.
to. Where
So
you
I
driving
don't know
around
if
in
y'all
a
have heard
Escort
of
GT on 13s.
yeah, a little. Yeah, I don't know if y'all have heard of a little place called Pioneer Loans. So your boy was that I was that private, man. I was like, I need 12-inch speakers in my
Subwoofers
car, you know what I'm saying? And I need a Kenwood system with a Kenwood amp, because Kenwood at that time was banging, and the people sitting behind the counter was like, oh, sure. And, looking back, that was like a 26% loan I got, but I just kept going because in the military, it's very easy for financial people to tell you yes, especially back then, because they knew worst case scenario, they'd have to pick up the phone and call your boss. Mm-hmm. They knew they were going to get their money.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of shops outside of a military base that will give you some either money or product. And so that became my way of doing things, right? So that's allotments were kicking in then. And so I went at Fort Riley, my first duty station, and got my tent and got my rims, got my system. I wish I could remember the name of the place, but got that hooked up, and I was like, I'm good. I don't need anything. Never saw the money, so I never missed the money, because all I cared about was that Thursday night and Saturday night. You know what I'm saying? Making sure I had the clothes.
Yeah, you want
and so, but that became my way of doing things. I didn't have to think further. I didn't have to think anymore because I was a barrack soldier. Didn't have to worry about rent. Didn't have to worry about it was single as could be. You know what I'm saying? So I had
bills on bills.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I was still that guy, especially my first 5-6 years in the military. Worst case scenario, I still got mom and dad. You know what I'm saying? So I was living that way, and then I finally get called to Iraq, and I was a freaking sergeant first class, S2, which is security, intelligence. The battalion let me know that, hey, we're having trouble finding your stuff, but you'll be good. Don't worry about it, because you was a drill sergeant, blah, blah, blah. But then I get in Iraq, and I'm walking around with a purple badge while everybody else got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on there. And I'm like, what in the world? And I couldn't go into our talk. You know what I'm saying? So that was literally the first time somebody sat down and explained to me, your credit score is low, and it's low because you have all of these outstanding. And it wasn't like I owed $50,000. It was, bottom line is, my credit was jacked up and I owed stuff. So my first month and a half in Iraq, I was limited as a freaking sergeant first class who had soldiers and a major responsibility. I was limited to trying to fix my credit.
Hey,
so I was living in So I'm in Iraq and choose trying to paying for internet access so that I could mail off stuff and pay stuff, and that is literally the first time I had any understanding of what my responsibility was. And then from that point forward, especially for like the next 10 years, it was something that was the first thing I thought about in the morning and the last thing I thought about at night, trying to get myself squared away. That's what sparked me, is me not being able to freaking do my job, This was
Well, I'll tell
stupid.
you what I tell a lot of soldiers and people in general, it's never too late.
Oh, no,
It's never too late to get that stuff squared away.
Yeah,
I don't care how old you are. or how long it took you.
The first thing you got to do, no matter what your age is first admit, I've got to fix this.
Yeah.
All right.
And if you don't do that, then oh well.
Yeah. So this rolls right into the question I have is like, at what point did you start taking your credit seriously, and what did you have to unlearn or relearn to get it back on track?
Yeah, and that flows right with what I was just saying. I had to learn that if you're late on a payment, that's a penalty, right? And so I had to understand what late means, right? Are you talking a week? Are you talking 30 days? You're talking 60? And I had to learn, and that we could talk more about all that when it comes to credit, but I had no clue about finances. My savings account in my mind was just taking something from my actual pay so that I could have it when I wanted it, not when I needed it, when I wanted it. So where like, ooh, I got $500 in my savings account, new shoes, new pants, new shirt, ooh, new hat. I like that hat, you know. And it was just, that's just the way I was for so long. And so understanding what credit is, that was the first thing.
Yep.
All right. And then once I got past that, the second thing was understanding living paycheck to paycheck versus having some air, a cloud to fall back on. That was something else because it took me forever to start learning. I'm talking, once again, I'm talking SARM first class to senior SARM first class, having financial. It took me a while, and I'm so glad it took me to slap in the face, because as a first sergeant, you can't be that guy, because you have to be. You can't. Of course, you can be, right? You can be a jacked up first sergeant, E8. You can be a jacked up any rank, but I'm saying if you want to be a responsible leader, you have to fix yourself. And if it wasn't for me getting slapped in the face, I probably would have either gone far enough to where it would have interfered with my military career, or I would have gone far enough where I'd still have those simple problems of money, you know, because money is a huge problem. Oh my gosh. If I hadn't got slapped in the face, I probably would have never self-corrected.
I agree with everything you said, and unfortunately, there are a lot of folks out there in that same position, and or worse.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, being a first sergeant or higher ranking personnel, those folks are out there that are in those messed up situations or not ideal situations. They're out there. I was just fortunate. I had always been a hard worker. Mm-hmm. One that kind of always paid my bills, on time. So that was just something that was ingrained in me. Mm-hmm. I truly didn't. But it wasn't. Know.
It was ingrained because you did it, or because somebody taught you about it.
Because I did it. Yeah, I mean, again, as I mentioned, a while back now, that I came from a real strict household.
Right.
My mom and father were divorced when I was in 4th grade.
Okay.
And so my mother raised 5 kids on her own, and a lot of my learning came from just watching her.
Right.
I didn't.
Where'd you fall in that middle of your?
I was in
siblings?
the middle.
Okay.
In the middle, to have a twin brother and sister younger than me, and then I have two older sisters, obviously older than me. Mm-hmm. So I was in the middle, and being in the middle, I spent a lot of time by myself. So I watched her. I didn't speak a lot. I was one that I was kind of quiet, but I was always watching everything. Mm-hmm. Nothing happened within my preview that I didn't pick up on.
Right.
That was me.
Okay.
So I'd always paid my bills on time. And when it really hit home with me how that affected my credit, it was just happenstance. I was in the barracks for a long time, East 6, and a good friend of mine that's at the Pentagon now, GS-15, is doing really well. he teased me. He said, "Man, I didn't want to spend the extra money to go get an apartment." He was like, "Man, you making enough money. You got money." And I was like, "I know, but I don't want to spend it."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
here it is now. I decide to go get an apartment at Walter Reed, and I ended up renting a townhome with a couple other soldiers. And so the owner of that particular townhome was another soldier, a captain, husband and wife, both dual military household, and she had came back to me and said, "Oh, Sergeant Connally over here with the perfect credit." You know, that they had ran my credit, and my credit score came back pretty high. And I didn't even know it. She's the one that told me by her joking to me. And when she said that, I kind of laughed, and then I went out and did a little research on my own. I was like, okay, that's a good thing. And I had no idea. So it was really just luck and happenstance. So that wasn't something that was planned with me to try and build up my credit score, that sort of thing. It was just luck, really, that I would happen to be doing the right thing. And I saw the results of it, when I went out to try and rent that or try and get that, sign a lease for that townhome. So it was a little luck.
I mean, that's probably when we started, because we lived on post the first assignment, and then when we left and went out to Fort Lewis, when we left Fort Knox, went out to Fort Lewis, that's when we had to start renting, and they start running your credit and stuff. Then, and it's like, running my credit, because I didn't know what my credit score was or anything either, because I didn't I had like a little credit card.
Because they sent you them.
Yeah, I mean, because it was
school,
like,
they sent you
had the
them
little
just
thing,
because you happened to. Anytime you open a bank account.
Didn't have any other. I mean, didn't know about credit. Yeah, wasn't thinking about credit in that way. Other than, okay, let me pay the cable bill or the internet. Well, no, we didn't even have internet at that time because it hadn't even really started up big. But phone bill,
Cable.
Yeah, cable, phone bill, that type of thing.
Gas,
but
electric.
So but I didn't start paying those till I got to Fort Lewis, and we started, renting. Renting. We had an apartment first, and then we went and rented a house. But started taking it a little serious then, because it was like, well, you can't afford to live over here because your credit score ain't where it needs to be. Yeah, you're not reliable or whatever. So it's just that piece where you start looking at, okay, I want to buy a new car eventually, and I want to get a good rate, a good rate on that car, and I want to get a car that has what I want on it, not just the basic, because that's all they saying I can afford or
Learning
whatever.
process.
So yeah, I mean, that's probably mine started probably after by that time I was probably about 25, 26, and then we had just had McKenzie, but right before we went out there, so then it started getting like, okay, now we got this child, like, are we start, do we start doing a college fund or what, for her? So a lot of that stuff just started coming in where it was like, I'm not sure. So I mean, so I would go back and again talk to my father about that stuff, and then that also had me start looking into like the military. Just like, okay, how can the military help in any of these areas when it started coming to the kids and stuff. So,
and that's the thing, like, and I think we should take a second and really talk about it, to where there was a concerted effort to keep black people financially incompetent, right? And I mean specifically when it comes to institutional type of banking versus, and of course we know with the institution brings credit, brings
and folks, the credit is not a bad thing.
No.
I mean, it can allow you to buy some properties or land or something that you may not have been able to get before. And I know probably a lot of folks, just like you, didn't know what their credit score was, or didn't think that they could purchase that that piece of land or that property, because that's build. That's where you can start building that
Oh, no doubt.
generational
No doubt.
wealth.
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And what Tommie was kind of touching on was, this institutional racism. It's still there. It's better than it was yesteryear, if you will. It certainly is better today, but that still exists. Even a person a minority that had good credit or great credit, let's call it great credit, that still didn't guarantee that they could go buy that property. In this institutional racism, you still had a thing called redlining, which says we're not going to sell you this house, no matter how much money you have or how good your credit is. So that existed for a long time. Some of that, I believe personally, that some of that still goes on today.
Well, hey, I'm gonna tell you the truth. So, I bought my first home I was in Fort Campbell, and when I left there and went to the academy, right? And so, the decision was, is there anybody in the area I trust enough outside of a bank or a company to run this house, or should I sell it? And once again, didn't have the full understanding of keeping a house in a military town that's close to the base. That's forever income I could have, right? I had an idea of that, but how it translated in my mind was a gamble. You know what I'm saying? And it was a gamble, but there are high stakes gambles and there's low stakes gamble. And the reality of it is I could have kept that home, right? And could forever be making money from it. That's one thing. But when the decision was made to sell the house with Nikki, one of the questions that we had to answer amongst ourselves were, do we keep black pictures up? Do we keep our pictures up when we're staging our house? And I don't think a lot of people understand that that's a real conversation that has to happen, because what if a white person walks into this house and sees a black face or a black family? Could that stop us from selling our house, especially
2022 took our pictures down in our house whenever we sold our house.
Yeah, that's real. They just had a case of this just a couple years ago. The folks that wanted to sell the folks' home, black people's home, they offered them X amount of money, said this is how much it's worth.
Oh, yeah.
They lowballed them on the house. And so what they did, they said, okay, they didn't sign the deal or give them approval to do that. They went ahead and had their white friend come in their home and act like it was her home. Yeah. And all of a sudden the price went up by over $200,000. So that's real. Yeah. And I certainly understand it. I'll tell you this, what cash has done for me is I always looked at it and said to myself, I want to be in a position to have, funds on hand in case, not only an emergency, but even in an instance that if my career was threatened, that, you either do this or we're going to put you out, etc. That was something I never worried about.
See, but that's something I want to, and I don't mean to cut you off, but that's something that I want to really bring to the front here, especially in our case, because we're two black men from literally the same area. And you chose a different path because of just the way you are as a human, right? Your mind, the way your mind worked. I chose a different path because my mind was not working like that. And I've talked to him about this, I wasn't even thinking about retirement on my 28th year. I was still thinking, I'm healthy, I'm still pushing, I could probably get another job, but it still wasn't something that was, hello.
The future type
There
thing.
is and And my only saving grace was me getting slapped in the face there, because by that time I had well over $10,000 saved. I had my credit score was the only person whose credit score has always been higher than mine is Nikki, and that irritates the mess out of me. But anyway, so it was just, I was fortunate. You know what I'm saying? I still was not thinking about beyond that thing. Yeah. So, but it's amazing that if it wasn't for something that clicked differently in your head, or if it wasn't for me getting slapped in the face, or if it wasn't for you and your dad slapping you in the head and bringing that to your attention, I could literally be a homeless person on the street. When did you first understand the difference between simply having money and actually managing money? What happened to make that change for you?
When the first Iraq War took place, prior to that, the up ramp of that, I was at Walter Reed and I got placed on orders to go to Greece. And I was there for about 13 months. I went there obviously as a 91 Charlie, a LPN, to kind of run an aid station. We had like a headquarters there. We had a PA at the headquarters, 91 Bravo, that was there. I got assigned to an outlying unit, what we call downrange, and I had a 91 Bravo with me, and my job was to run that aid station and take care of those soldiers that were doing what they were doing. And
what rank were you?
I was a E6 at the time.
Okay.
And while there, I met some infantry soldiers. And on my own accord, I always viewed, it's not fair. I always viewed infantry soldiers as not being very smart because of the job they were doing. That is totally wrong. It is totally
What's
wrong.
The problem?
There was no problem. I'm telling you, while I was
problem?
There, I spoke to these guys, lieutenants and senior NCOs, and they were some of the most brightest people that I've known and met. Very intelligent and smart. Just because of the job they were doing, you know, I didn't look at them as being smart people. And I didn't know anybody, but that was just something on my own. Ignorance on my part, no question. Because those folks were, when I spoke to them and they started talking about investments and they started talking about mutual funds and stocks, I was all ears, because that was something that always registered with me, although I wasn't involved in it. But I looked at it and I liked it from infancy. I was always drawn to it. So I credit those guys that led me in the right direction.
That's you.
I mean, I had, when I was my first duty assignment, NCOIC Sergeant Major, when I retired as a Sergeant Major, Riles. He was the NCOIC there, and they
introduced you to it.
And because he was like, hey, because you making some money. I'm like, shit, I don't think I'm making no money. Yeah. But just showed me like his mutual funds and things like, oh yeah, you should. I mean, and then it was like, okay, I can do.
Did you immediately
$50.
start?
No, I stayed broke for real, couple of years. Yeah.
Struggle for.
Because it was like, no, man, I want these. I can buy these shoes. I can buy these jeans now. Man. So it was that piece, and then it was like, okay, let me start. Because it's like I never wanted to, because you talked about living paycheck to paycheck. You know, it's like I ain't trying to live paycheck to paycheck. And then it was like, I know I want to retire, and I got to have something coming in. I just can't not have anything, you know, because I saw too many folks, you know, living in that situation, or too many folks that were still working, where it was like, why are you still
all
working?
That,
why you?
All that.
Because they have to, you know,
exactly.
they
70,
have to.
70 years old and still working.
I mean, and
nothing's wrong with it. For those folks that are doing it and they just want to work and want to volunteer somewhere, that's a great thing. But to be in a position to where you're forced to go do it because you can't survive without it, that's a terrible situation to be in.
But it's even different now, because we're from the cloth of graduate school, whatever level, and then start a job until you can retire. That's changed incredibly to where there are many people that only stay a couple years or a few years at a job. And if it wasn't for the 401k, there's still people that if it wasn't for the 401k and it accumulating, even though they kept going job to job, they would never be able to retire.
Let me tell you this, Tommie and Lance. There are folks that are just getting into the job field today that it's a minority. It's a small minority or low percentage of people, but they're out there that have a different viewpoint on this altogether. Yeah. They don't think about, working 30 years and 35 years. They're thinking like, how soon can I make X amount of money in order for me to retire at a young age to do what I want to do. Yeah. And those are the folks that have been taught
and learn
about investments, and they have that in their system, and they're doing it right out the gate. Mm-hmm. And sometimes out the gate mean when they were born, their parents set up account for them, a custodial account or what have you, and then they just picked it up once they got a job, and they're millionaires.
It's taught to them. Their parents probably I know now that whenever I have a grandchild, I'm gonna start a fund and start putting. I'm gonna start that from the time that they're born, and not wait till.
And that is the best recipe
18
for success.
or 21 or something like that. Because I know that now. I know that I can do that now, and that's something that I should have done with my own kid.
But it also affords you the opportunity to enjoy the rest of your life.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Instead of you still being frugal for the rest of your life because you want your kids and grandkids to have something. So, but that, once again, that goes back to, and I don't mean to keep bringing back the race thing, but because you have to remember before Google, knowledge was limited. Looking back, there were times when I could have saved myself, right? Because even back then, they used to come around the barracks and they used to have those metal cards, and they were like, if you just take $15 out of your pay, that's every 2 weeks, and then once you get promoted, add the promotion amount on top of that. So you get promoted from E4 to E5. Well, I'm just making up a number. Say it's a $250 difference. Then take that $250 and put it on that. And then just keep going. Before you retire, you'll be a millionaire.
Oh, there's no doubt.
And you're just sitting there like...
You'll certainly be well off. And
take $15 out. Are you kidding me? These new kicks, right? I got to have that. Never took advantage of that. Yeah. So, and then even going to BNOC, ANOC, being around, those are the non-commissioned officer courses, different levels, being around other people, they'd be talking about it. It just wasn't it just wasn't interesting to me.
You hear it, but it's
your situation, Tommie, was you just didn't know what you didn't know.
100%.
But if someone literally would have took you to the side and said, hey, bro, let me show you this. There's a misnomer out there that, first of all, let me just say this. There's a misnomer for folks that come from where I come from that, that it's not for them. It's not investing. It's not for me. That's for somebody else. And somebody else generally means white people that are well off, etc. But I'm here to tell you that that's totally false. Anybody can do it.
So when did you start investing?
It actually right in it while I was in Greece. I didn't actually wait until I finished that tour. Okay. I did it midstream when I'm having these conversations with those infantry gentlemen. I started really right away. And the conversations that me and my wife had, these conversations were initially arguments, really, to be honest. When me and my wife first got married, she came into the military direct commission, and she had student loans. And so I told her, I said, hey, the first thing we're going to do as a team is get these student loans paid off. Mm. And once that got done is when we really started investing full force. Mm. And my wife wasn't initially sold on it because I was a saver and she was a spender, kind of like yourself, Tommie. And she told me this multitude of times is I'm working, I should be able to buy what I want to when I want to buy it. I said, babe, you're looking at this the wrong way. If you look at it this way, you know, long term, I want to be in a position to be able to do what I want to do when I want to without any issues. We had a lot of those conversations early on in our marriage. We hadn't had one of those in a long time.
Yeah, but and that's the thing though. It's the chemistry in your brain, man, because it took, first off, you say that everybody can do it, anybody can do it, the lowest level job can do it. That is true, but, right? Because if you're not in a financial position to where you feel comfortable enough to even spend on something that you really need, you know what I'm saying? You can't. It's hard to take that mindset and then say, but just take this little bit and try to invest it there. So income matters, right?
No question.
Secondly, it's a discipline. It's a mental discipline that you have to take on to where you understand what it is, and I'm talking about investing, and then you have the courage to take those steps. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's a big thing right there. Just having the courage and not be afraid to. I mean, because that's a scary thing. It's 100%. Like, okay, because you could be putting that money in, and then something like the stock market starts going down, and then you're like, you're like, oh my God, that's half my money right there that I've been putting in. So I mean, that's a true
what
for real thing.
What you
right
both
there.
are describing is 100% true.
Before Nikki, all I cared about was paying my bills on time and having some money to do what I wanted to do. That was it. After Nikki is when I started to think about long-term finances, but I still didn't take the steps. I didn't start doing stocks until like my last couple years in the military. You know, it's simply because the only reason, I'm telling you right now, the only reason I started looking into investment is because I had capital. That's the only reason. If I would have never fixed my money, I still would not be investing in simple stuff. And then the stock market beat you up anyway.
I agree, and I know what you're telling me is true. I know it to be true because that same story is told multitude of ways from different people. I know it's true. It takes a little bit of money, and the best thing that you have going in your favor is time. A little bit of money over time adds up to a lot of money.
I think the biggest thing is probably at the beginning, especially when you're younger, is that initial sacrifice. Because, again, if you go from not having anything and not able to get what you want or buy what you want, or you always got to ask for, can you get me this, or can I get this and stuff? Then when you're able to get it yourself, then I think then that starts the real
and
drug where
so
it's like,
about it.
oh shoot, I'm gonna go buy, I'm gonna go, and not thinking about, because young folks don't think about.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm gonna retire in 25 years or 30 years.
Please be clear. I am not for a second saying don't invest. I'm not for a second saying live in the moment, spend your money. What I am saying is it's a conscious decision that you can make that I didn't until years later. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm trying to point out both sides of this and just point out that of the three people sitting here, his mind financially is different than the two of us.
Right.
I
mean, it's a balance. I mean, it's a balance, and that's super. I mean, that's, I don't say super unique, but that's unique as hell. That you've been. I mean, because you've been thinking like that. You've had that mindset for years.
It's a fine line, and I recognized it after the fact. When I was first in Germany, I was saving so much money that I wasn't able to go out to do other things. But that's a regret that I have personally.
Right.
But if I saved just a little bit less, that would have enabled me to go out and do some other things. So there's a fine line there.
That's what I'm saying.
And you have to be cautious of that.
Yep.
The decision to get started, like I did, when I saw the money that I was putting in initially, after about 2 years, what happened with me personally, it made me look at it and say, man, I got a little money in there now. I think I can save even more. And I certainly understand it's hard for anybody to get started. Mm-hmm. It really is, especially when you know nothing about it. But I would advise anybody, whatever you learn from listening to a coworker or someone like me, just pick up any book, Google it, get a little bit of information on your own. Yeah, and the more information you have, the more knowledge you have, the better it's going to be for you, the more understanding you have. And then you won't be less, you will be less afraid to test it.
You can say that you're educated about it so that you can make the decision yourself.
Of
because
what a gimmick is and what a gimmick
because
is.
it's your money. You do what you want to do with it.
No
but
doubt.
we're just trying to say that it's a lot better to have something to fall back on,
Sacrifice.
just in case. Sacrifice early so that you can enjoy it later.
So you're the investor guy, right? And that is something that me and Lance knew about you. Lance knew it way before me because we really just got to hang out while we were in Europe. But 18 to 25, right? That's that straight out of high school versus finally starting to feel what real life feels like. What advice would you give somebody straight out of high school and made the decision to go to the military or made the decision to get a job? What advice would you give them about their financial competence now and then how they should think about the future?
Whether they join the military or this is in a civilian sector, no matter what job you have, what I would advise everyone to do is to learn as much information as you can for the folks in the military regarding the TSP, which is Thrift Savings Plan. The military still has their traditional retirement, but they also have, which they didn't have when I joined, there was no Thrift Savings Plan. They have that now. They also offer a match now. The government gives you a match based if you put in the minimum amount that's required for that. Civilian sector does the same thing. There's really no other. There used to be in civilian sector, you work 30, 35 years, you get a gold watch, you get your retirement. Those days are really over. They have now 401k plans, which is your retirement system for you. I would ask anyone to learn as much information as you can regarding the 401k plan that the civilian sector offers, whatever job you work for. Learn as much as you can and start investing at that right away if possible, like your first or second paycheck. The earlier you start your investment, the longer tenure you have to do that, and the more money you're going to have. So
now, what advice would you give? You have kids.
Okay.
So what did you give them?
That's what it was. So what I would tell them, because my kids don't work, they don't have government jobs, so they're not can't do the thrift. TSP, yeah. But they have 401k that gets taken out every month, at whatever percentage it is, 10%, 12%, whatever it is that gets taken out. But I also have them, had them open up IRAs, Roth IRAs, so that they could max those out every year while they're young, because by the time that they're 40, 45, they would have X amount of dollars in that. And that's something it's building for them every year. It's not building it's not like putting your money into like a mutual fund or a stock or something that's built, that'll build quick, but then it can also get taken out. That IRA machine. It's building, but it's a slow build, but it's a nice build. But it's a nice one.
It's a dependable build.
Yes, absolutely. And then also that way, whenever they, as they do make more money, they just get used to that whatever little bit going out, so that they can spend what they, what they have. Try to have them start good habits. But I would just say it's put something, start putting something away. Whether you're saving it in the bank, whether you're opening up a mutual fund, an IRA, and even if you do those things, you don't have to max them out. Like you just put $20 in there, put $25, because that's like you look at how you have to look at it. Sometimes it's like $20 is a meal. I'm going to Five Guys, or going, something like that,
Not Five Guys. McDonald's. Yeah, Five Guys. Woo.
Well, it's. I mean, you have to look at it like it's a going to the movies.
Yeah.
Because
define
if
what
you
you're
look,
sacrificing.
because if you look at it like that, if you go to the movies once a month, that can cost you $50.
Yeah,
and
with a date.
you think about if you put that $50 in a month into something, it's grown. That money you're making some money off it. It's gonna be something. You're not gonna walk away and say,
No
I
doubt.
don't have anything.
I'll tell you,
You're
Lance,
gonna have something.
Even if it's $50 a month, as you mentioned, and it doesn't even have to be an investment. That can just be a savings emergency fund.
Yeah.
That $50 a month at the end of the year ends up being $600.
Yep.
When you had nothing before.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta. I mean, and the thing is, it's like you have to start it. Nobody can make you start it.
Yeah.
And I mean, you have to look, especially young folks. You have to look, look into for your future. How long do you really want to work, or do you think you want to work? And what do you want to, and then how do you want to live after that? I know it's extremely hard because it's like I couldn't tell you whenever I was 25 that
30 years later.
Yeah, I was, it was going to be where
Yeah.
I am now, and like, oh man, this is how I want to live. But I knew like a few things. Like, but one thing that my father told me, he said, I'll always have a car payment. I don't care. He said because I like cars, and if I want that new Cadillac, I'm gonna get out. But him saying that, he also was like, but that's gonna be in my budget for the future. I know that that's something that I want, so I will be working and I will have my stuff. Yeah, just because that's one of my vices. Because he didn't drink, didn't smoke, none of that stuff like that. So it's like that's one of his habit, whatever you want to call it. But it was a known. I'm prepared. I know that this is what I want, so this is what I'm going.
There is a. I say a test, but it really wasn't a test. What I've done with some folks that I kind of helped got started investing, when they said they didn't have enough money, they didn't think they had enough money to invest or to save. What I asked them was, I said, can you tell me on your last paycheck where that paycheck went? They could have told me a couple of things, but overall, they could not tell me 100% where that money went. And so I began to point things out to them. I said, well, if you stop at Starbucks or the convenience store every day to work, coffee only costs you $3 to $7, depending on what size you get, what type you get. But just that alone adds up to a lot of money.
Yep.
If you eat out lunch 3 to 5 times a week, that adds up to a lot of money. You don't need to go to eat lunch every day. You could bring your lunch. Mm-hmm. That enables you to save money.
And that's why I say I'm talking to an 1825 just like I did to all of my soldiers once I realized the change that I needed to make. First off, I'd say become aware of your credit score and then understand everything that goes into building up your credit score or tearing down your credit score, because that is something that you will need later on in your life, period.
Yeah.
The second thing I'd say is when it comes to investing, everybody should do it. But make sure you're knowledgeable, just like Milton said, just like Lance said. Make sure that you're not just throwing money away. Make sure that you're taking an educated approach to how you can make more money later. And like Milton said, start off easy. Remember, when you're investing, it's not like a slot machine. Don't go in big hoping for a big return when you're starting off. Start off with something consistent. Lance mentioned IRAs. We talked about 401ks and the TSP, thrift saving plan for military. But just make yourself aware. And then once you've done those things, then you have to start building that discipline just like you do with anything else. And the more discipline you have when it comes to saving your money, when it comes to applying your money where it needs to go, and then when it comes to considering investments, then that courage that you need to make that investment is so much easier because it's not so much of a gamble because now you've researched and you have that knowledge. So as much as you care about physical fitness, as much as you care about impressing the man or woman that's in front of you, as much as you care about not getting, like Lance said, jonesed on by your friends because you want to make people think you're a baller, right? That same energy and effort you put in all that stuff is the same amount of energy you put into your investment, to your savings first and your investment. And you don't have to think 60 years down the line. That's what I was trying to point out with Milton. I matured into a better version of me when it comes to finances and investment, but the fact that he's able to have that and then continue to improve upon it is what we all need to really pay attention to. 18 to 25, you do have a lot of life in front of you. You do have things that you want now, but also you have to consider, just like you never think about you'll die tomorrow, you just have to consider that you'll live 60 years from now.
Or longer than that now.
Yeah, and that just make it better.
Yeah,
you know
and
what I'm
don't be afraid to ask somebody or speak to someone. I mean, because even if you have some of the financial companies and stuff, or person coming up to talk to them, ask them questions, because it's your money. It's not, you're not buying anything from them. You know,
and that's another
thing.
thing.
A thing that you might have to pay a fee. I mean, if you do go with like a company, you might have to pay a fee, but that fee is for their expertise in the try, because they're trying to make you money. Because if you're not making money, they're not going to make any money. So don't be afraid, and don't be afraid to ask someone who you know or you think is doing okay, you know, an older person, because they'll tell you what you need to do and what you don't need to do, you know, so that you try to keep you out of some trouble. Try to save you from yourself.
And I'd take that a step further. Lance, that information that he just provided to you is spot on, but even if you don't even want to ask someone, you're a little shy or don't want someone else to know what you're thinking or what you're doing, no problem. You can Google all this information for free.
Yeah, especially
you know, back in the day, there was no Google, there was no internet. Period. There was no internet.
There was a library.
I had to go I had to go to the library to do the research that way. But now it's literally at your fingertips. You can Google.
Yep.
How should I start investing? How can I start saving? What's a mutual fund? What's an ETF?
You can do all of that from your computer.
You know, who offers the highest checking account or savings account rates in my area. You can Google that stuff, and it's literally at your fingertips, and you can sit at home, at work, at lunch, and find some information that's going to be life saving for you.
Yep.
You know.
And the last thing I'll say is verify everything that you're told, and not just in life, but we're talking finances as well. But make sure in life, if somebody tells you something and it sounds good, verify it. If somebody tells you something and it sounds impossible, bad, verify it. And you have that access right there on your fingertips. All right.
Yeah.
Or there's a term that we used to use when I was younger, is if somebody tries to sell you something or is telling you information that's too good to be true, most time it's not true.
100%.
If it's too good to be true, it's not true.
Yeah.
Don't fall for the okie doke, if you will.
Yeah.
I know that was a lot of information, but we hope this conversation helps somebody. We know everybody ain't going to take on to it, but somebody, we hope we enlightened you on something. Yeah. Especially a young black man trying to figure out life, money, and responsibility, because we know that traditionally families don't talk about finances enough, but we definitely know that black families don't. We're getting better.
Yep.
Because Milton said it 1,000 times, you don't know what you don't know. So think about it.
please. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and you can watch our episodes on YouTube at 4 Titles, 1 Truth.
And Milton, I want to thank you again for joining us. Thank you again for bringing your knowledge to the podcast, and we really appreciate it.
Man, I'm telling you, this is a blessing. I appreciate you inviting me. I enjoyed the conversation. This is something that, I can speak about finances all day long.
So we'll have you back.
We appreciate it, brother. Yep.
We'll
Absolutely.
bring you back. So this was the 101 class.
That's right.
We'll have him back for 102.
That's right. And as always, join us next time so we can keep the conversation going, y'all.
All right now.
All right.
Holla.